Hi, this is Dan Sullivan. I'd like to welcome you to the Multiplier Mindset Podcast. The free zone transformation success story I have today is Julia Carlson. And Julia has a financial services company. And if you can imagine Oregon, it's halfway up the coast, Newport, Oregon. She talks about having had a really happy childhood, where money was a happy topic with her parents. Kind of reminds me of myself because I go to various conferences and workshops, and oftentimes entrepreneurs have doom and gloom stories to talk about their past. They had terrible childhood and they weren't understood and they were always an outsider and they got bad schooling, and so they had to go out and make a living and everything else. And none of that is true about Julia. None of that was true for me. So about 6 months ago, I came up with a story as my version of what my childhood did to me. And I said, I probably had the happiest childhood I've ever heard of anyone. And I'm spending the rest of my life inflicting it on the world. But again, one of the things we really see with the entrepreneurs is how early in life, they were already involved in the activity where they're now star entrepreneurs. So Julia tells the story that, she already was into financial services professional in her early 20s. And she now has a company with 17 people. And 2022 is going to be the best year of her career so far.
I am Julia Carlson. I'm the CEO and founder of Financial Freedom Wealth Management Group. And we help clients pursue financial freedom, build wealth, and take care of all things finances for them. I actually found my passion for, financial planning and investments at an early age. My parents had a really lovely money story, meaning they didn't get in money fights. Money was just very open in our household. My grandfather talked to me about stocks, and it just was all very curious to me. And so when I got out of high school, I went to work for a bank, and they had an investment department there. And, I just really enjoyed that work and started my own business. I left the bank and started my own business when I was 23. Well, actually, I had a very entrepreneurial spirit in high school. I had a business teacher, and I was involved in DECA, which is a business club, and you actually kind of make these faux businesses and present them at competitions. And I loved it. And so I think that's why, when I found my passion for personal finance, and then I also knew I was entrepreneurial spirited, it just kind of came together. And I'm like, why not? Why not start a business at 23 doing this? Building your business at 23, I think in the beginning, it's just hustle. And it didn't feel like a hustle. It just felt like I was going after my passion and building my business. And so I think in the beginning, I learned about resilience in the sense of, who's going to have me, a 20-something, manage their millions. And so I had to grow in my confidence and go through a lot of no's to get to the yeses, and just keep going when times got tough. I think early on in your entrepreneurial journey, for me, in ways, it was somewhat of a roller coaster. And I think as you get used to working longer and harder, you feel like that's the only way to do it. There were some pretty big shifts that I had to make to essentially get out of my own way. I think that confidence is something that is earned along your journey. And it's something that a lot of times we feel like we want to have confidence in the beginning, but it's completely normal to not have confidence. But I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up because we're like, I'm not going to move forward because I don't feel confident. But I think learning that it's kind of feeling that fear and walking into it and dancing with that feeling of, this is exciting, but I'm scared. Like knowing that's completely normal, and knowing also on the other side of that is how all the goodness is, right? It's like stepping outside your comfort zone. Is on the other side is where you get that confidence. I'm 45 now, so 22 years into building my business, but I think there's been a lot of shifts. We started, it was a team of one back then, and now we're a team of 17. We have 5 offices all over Oregon. And our revenue, we're on track in 22 to hit our biggest year yet of around 4 million in revenue. So we're growing. And I would say one of the biggest shifts I've made along the way is going from a very me-centric business to a very team-centric. And, it's all about our working together and serving our clients and using really that team approach, which also as an entrepreneur, allows me to free up to do what I love to do as opposed to trying to do everything. A very pivotal moment in my career as I look back in 2012, I think I had about 3 employees, maybe 4 employees at the time. It was before Coach for me. I was at a client event, we were entertaining clients, and I learned at the end of that event that my daughter at the same time was in a horrible accident. She was hit head on by a drunk driver traveling in a car and being life flighted at that moment to a hospital. So I got to the hospital and I spent the next week with her in ICU. And looking back, I was there physically with her, but my mind was telling my assistants to get me my computer. I was doing my actions. I was trying to keep all these balls in the air, juggling. And what I realized in that moment is I had made myself so relevant in my business that I felt like I had to do all those things to keep it going, which I didn't. I had a staff, I had people that were helping me, but in my mind, it was, I have to make sure all this stuff is happening while I'm there with my daughter. And so she made a full recovery. She came home, and that summer I wanted to be with her and not really worry about my business. And so I went on a journey at that point to figure out I have to do things differently. I have to make myself less relevant in my business, and I have to become a better business owner. And then Coach appeared. And so I think it's like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. That's what I feel like. And I went on this journey to essentially, I call it fire myself, but it's getting into my sweet spot and then being okay with allowing others around me to help. And that's where that true teamwork. So, when it came to hiring, I actually had learned a really valuable lesson there of I can't do this by myself. And I want to build a team around me, which ultimately elevated all of us to grow and prosper and build a bigger business. I've been part of Coach now. I think I'm in my 9th year. And Coach meets you where you're at. That's kind of what I feel is really an appropriate way to describe it, because we are all on different journeys. We all want different things. And so, I think in the beginning, my schedule, I was working a lot with 3 kids, and I needed to really, I think the time system really helped me starting to, take some free days and align my schedule in a way that was more supportive of a more balanced, I don't like the word balance, but a more integrated life, if you will. That was a big piece of it. And I like to say it saved my marriage with my husband. And it's just given us so many tools and a common framework to process our thinking, to communicate, to grow together. And so I'm just really grateful for my experience with Coach. So actually, my husband is in Coach now. He has his own business as well. But, early on, it was soon after the 2008, 2009 and the housing markets. He's a home builder. And so the housing markets, took a little bit longer to recover. And so when I started, I really wanted him to start with me, but he just felt like it wasn't right timing. And then it was almost like it created a little bit maybe more conflict, because I'm on this trajectory of growth and I'm learning and all of it's exciting. And he's kind of, still in that place of struggling. It doesn't have the tools. And so I asked him to come to Couples Connection, which is a couples retreat for Coach participants. And he saw a bigger vision there, and he joined Coach right after that. And coming home from his first session, he said, I finally see things the way that you're seeing things, or I'm exposed to things that are going to help my thinking. And he did his first couple years. And then now we go to Coach together, and it's just our parenting skills have been impacted from it. all aspects of our life. Again, so much in the early stages of a business is all about that hustle, and it's all about your effort and how do you do this? And you kind of can get stuck in that, where if you take a step back and look at things completely different, right? Like 10 times your revenue, that's like almost $40 million right now. I have to think about who do I have to be or what has to happen for that. And it blows your mind when you think about it, but just putting it out there. And it's the idea of we don't have to worry about the how, because the how will figure itself out. But so many times we want to know the how before we take that first step or that action. So for me, it's a really fun exercise to think about things differently. You will always be your best investment. That is what I have learned every time that I have considered spending money on myself, a program, a coach. It's always come back tenfold. I think your company is capped at your growth level. And so I had to evolve. I had to be a better teacher. I had to learn and grow and get out of my own way in so many different areas. And the only way I was able to do that is to have, whether it was strategic coach or a mentor, like really help me stretch my thinking. You're your best investment.
I'm totally committed to business success and business growth, but it's actually for your whole life. In other words, that it doesn't make any sense to have a successful business if the rest of your life is a failure. So when Julia talked to us, it was very, very clear that it's because her marriage means so much to her and her personal life means so much to her. That's the reason why Coach has been so valuable for her, because it's allowed her to create a self-managing company. And all of her work can be pointed more and more towards the future, because everything she was doing before she started Coach, somebody else is doing right now. Okay. And it's the biggest fear strategic coach people have of this concept that we call who, not how, is that what if all the hows I'm doing, somebody else is better at them, then what am I doing? What is my value? And I says, oh, when that happens, then you are truly able to be a truly great entrepreneur, because what truly great entrepreneurs do is they create new visions that give purpose to other people's great capabilities. Okay. And that seems to me, just hearing Julia's story, she's now in a position just to grow her company by telling them what the next big vision is for the company. And she's already got 5 offices around the entire state of Oregon, and she's all freed up. So there's no upper limit on where she can go with her company, because she's completely free from everything except growing the company.